The man with the FedEx shirt who was shown in Megan Thee Stallion's documentary saying that Tory should have head tapped her and finished the job, y'all need to find him and get him fired. He had on a FedEx shirt. Do y'all thing. Hey guys, happy Halloween. I'm here to watch Megan Thee Stallion's new documentary on Prime Video called Megan Thee Stallion in Her Words. Trigger warning because this will have some heavy topics. The first screen of the movie literally says this film contains discussions around DV and ideation of deleting yourself. And I know this video is long for TikTok, but this is going to be regular length for my YouTube crowd. But y'all gotta remember this documentary is 2 hours, so. And it basically just starts off with Megan telling us that she's really tired, she needs a break. She didn't sleep last night because she had to get up at 1 or 2 a.m. for a flight the next day. We also get to see some of the pivotal moments in her career like Savage, WAP, and getting her Grammy, as well as everything she's come to stand for, empowering women, and how she's built this fan base with the hotties. And she says she feels like Megan Thee Stallion is there to protect Meg and Pete, which I do totally understand because I feel like a lot of celebrities use that persona as a shield. And then they take us back to 2021 and we see Megan at her TSU graduation. I know they cut Party out of this whole scene because remember, he was there. And that also shows us that they've been filming this for a while. And, you know, backstage, they had a cake for Megan that had her and her mom on it. And it said, "Mama, I made it." And of course, that made the moment bittersweet. And I honestly started getting emotional a little bit because I was like, damn, every pivotal moment she has, people probably bring her mom up. Like, your mom would be so proud of you. Your dad would be so proud of you. And it's like, that dampens the mood. That makes it bittersweet. Every birthday, every graduation, every award you win, somebody got to remind you of the fact that, damn, my mom not here. Yeah, she would be proud of me, but you also reminded me of the fact that she's not here. And she says she really don't like going back to Houston, which I figured because Megan doesn't live in Houston. She lives in LA. And she said that every time she goes back to Houston, it just reminds her of loss. Her mom's gone, her dad's gone, her grandmother's gone. So it's like, what the hell am I going back to Houston for? And now they're taking us back to 2000 so we can see Megan's childhood. And I love how they showed a little animated Megan and her mom. Everybody knows Megan loves anime. She also has done like her own animated music videos and stuff like that. So I feel like that was cool for them to include because it's something that is kind of associated with her now, that cartoon anime kind of look. Now, I'm 5'7", almost 5'8", and I've been this tall for a long time, so I can relate to a lot of the struggles that Megan talks about with her height. Being that she's 5'10", she says she grew up with a lot of beautiful women, her mother, her grandmother, etc. So they always told her, you're beautiful, you got that model height. You know, she was confident about her height and her looks. But then when she got into school, she was like the tallest girl in class, and it kind of became a thing to pick on her about or bully her about. And this is a secret. I'm telling y'all, that shit really affected me as well. Because me being 5'8", I never wanted to wear heels because I always was going to be taller than the boys. And now I'm 25 years old and I'm just learning to walk in heels because I'm just getting confident enough in myself to wear them. And not worrying about being taller than anybody else. And her mama basically told her, you better go out there and demand your respect. Because Megan said she came home crying. Her mother said, girl, you're tall ass. You better go out there and whoop some mother ass. So then she tells us that her dad was in jail for the first 7 to 8 years of her life. When he got out of jail, they were inseparable. And then he passed away from a heart attack when Megan was in the 9th grade. So that means they basically only had about 6 years together, about 7 to 14, 8 to 14. And she said her mom was a wreck when her dad passed away, and she didn't want to cry and make it worse for her mom and make her mom more sad. So that's when she started creating the Megan Thee Stallion persona because she realized, you know, her mom was a rapper. And she always looked up to her mom about that. And she felt like her being a rapper, she was able to make this persona that was actually stronger than who she was. She showed her mom one of her early rap videos. It's this video where Megan is like in black and white and she has this black like Scully or beanie on. You can find it on YouTube if y'all really want to see. It's one of her earliest videos ever. And her mom was in shock because she was still under 18, I believe, cursing and talking crazy in her raps. So, of course, she said her mom was in shock, but she told us before that her mom basically said, okay, you're good at this. You could keep doing it, but we're not going to pursue it with all of this sex talk and this cursing until you finish school. So now it's 2016, and we see Megan drop one of her earliest songs, Like a Stallion. Something else that a lot of us probably never knew, her mom was the one recording a lot of those early freestyles where Megan would freestyle in the car, and she said she would be twerking, and her mom would get her angles and everything. She wasn't handling it like a mom. She was becoming a manager or a momager and seeing the star in her daughter. Oh, Lord, child. So it's 2018. Megan's mom is managing her. We're on the set of Megan and Moneybagg Yo's Make a Bag video shoot. So this is very early Meg, Tina Snow days, when it started to be alleged that she was messing with Moneybagg Yo around this time. And we also see Kelsey Nicole letting us know that we're on the video set. I think it's about to get interesting. Maybe we'll see more about Megan and Kelsey's friendship pre-Tory. And I'm sure Megan's mom expected most of these people that were there at the beginning stages of her career, Moneybagg Yo, Kelsey, to stay around. And they clearly all had a relationship and rapport with her mom. So it's really disappointing and sad that she's no longer cool with either of them as far as we know. We also see how her mom gave her a lot of advice. For example, in their rehearsals, her mom would tell Megan like, hey, you're running out of breath, so don't say the whole hook, just do your verses. And stuff like that. She said now she got to just lock into her mind. Like, I learned it and I have to remember it because it's not going to be repeatedly told to me because she's not here to keep reminding me of those things anymore, you know? So she has to take all the lessons that she ever learned from her mom and try to remember everything her mom ever told her and just continuously apply it to her life. And we see Megan's early come up, performing at bars, performing at clubs, performing at small college events, getting her name out there and building her fan base up organically. Seeing the big old freak era, which as we know is when Megan really broke through and started to take off. Said that was the happiest time of her career, around 2018 to 2019. And she said she used to let her mom make all her decisions, tell her when she had recorded enough. You know, her mom would tell her, no, keep recording that over. I don't like how you said this. I don't like how you said that, until her mom feel like it's perfect. Again, that's something she don't have anymore. So now whenever Megan feels like she's done recording, she's just done recording. And she might not have even been pushed to her best potential like her mom was able to do before. So we see this video of Megan and her mom playing the piano, and then she said the next day she had a show in LA. Her mom called her and was like, I keep effing up my words. I'm feeling funny. I'm talking real slow, and I need you to call 911. And that's when they found out she had the brain tumor. Not to get off topic, but Giselle from Real Housewives of Potomac, dad also died from a brain tumor. And she said that they found out and he passed away 14 days later. I really think that they need to put more research into this, because why are people finding out that they have a tumor in their head so late to the point that there's nothing to do about it? And she said her mom started giving her a pep talk like she knew something was going to happen to her. Then she started having back-to-back seizures and she just wasn't responsive. Sometimes we do know that families, especially black families, will keep their medical conditions a secret away from their families because they don't want to stress or worry their family, even though it's definitely better if your family knows ahead of time that something's going on with you so they have more time to prepare and plan and try to help you. So I don't know if her mom knew that she was sick and just didn't want to tell Megan to like not worry her, or if she was like Giselle's dad where she didn't know and then by the time she found out it was too late. But Megan said that they had to put her mom under and she was brain dead. And, you know, days went on. Megan kept going up there trying to see if her mom would shake back from it. And she didn't. So eventually Megan had to make the decision to pull the plug, which was something that I don't think any of us knew either. And then did a show 3 weeks later. Megan is a strong girl. So she told the crowd that she didn't want to cancel her shows because her mom would have wanted her to keep going. And she showed this video of like all the stuff that her and her mom was doing, rehearsing together and stuff up until that point. And I do think that at the time she was trying to get her career going. It was 2019, so she did need to keep pushing forward. But I also think that she kind of didn't give herself time to grieve because she kept working and didn't cancel any shows and was missing not only her mom, but her momager during those times. And I think that all kind of led to everything that we know was the next couple of years after that, which was a lot of drinking, the shooting situation, a lot of in and out of situationships and relationships, and just drama. Maybe, just maybe, if she had taken a little bit of time to actually grieve and heal and take some time off and get some therapy back then, some of this stuff wouldn't have happened. But then who knows if she would have been as far as she is in her career right now. She also had so many cameras around her face all the time by that point that it's like, damn, when do you get time to even just cry? Because she kept saying on stage she didn't want to cry. So it's like, I could imagine how many nights in hotel rooms she done cried herself to sleep, you know, by herself. So at this point, we're starting to see Megan drink a lot more in the footage. And she said, you know, she's around the fans. She's around a bunch of industry events. And everybody around her seems happy. So she want to be on the same type of timing as them. So at that point, we see that Megan gets nominated for her first BET Award. So at this point, she's starting to get called out for all these events. And she said at that point, she just moved out of Houston and never looked back. So I'm guessing that's when she moved to LA. And we saw Kelsey and one of Megan's other friends like, yeah, you know, we ain't on YouTube no more. She at the awards. And Kelsey was like, yeah, I remember the day we put her first YouTube video online. I knew she was going to be a star from day one. We also see her get her first VMA and we see her drop Hot Girl Summer. No mention or view of Nicki. But from there, we kind of just see the hot girl thing becoming a part of her brand. You know, her calling herself the hot girl coach, hot girl summer, hot girl fall, all of that. We see Megan do an interview. They ask her who's one of her dream collabs. She said, I know it's a reach, but I really want to do a song with Beyonce. And we know that eventually that happened with the Savage remix, which also got Megan her Grammys. And we're now in 2020. Okay, y'all, this is the part we've been waiting for. We see more clips of Megan and Kelsey just being best friends. And she's like, you know, Kelsey was my best friend. My mom had just passed and she was always around me. Let's see where this goes. Like, they literally showed a video when it was Holly's, Megan's mom's 1 year anniversary of passing away. Kelsey was bawling, crying. Like, she had real emotion for Megan's mom, which is what I was saying earlier. Like, they had to have had relationships and rapport with Megan's mom. Kelsey, Moneybagg Yo, all those early people that were a part of her career. And Megan said, you know, of course she made Kelsey her professional official assistant. And Megan didn't mention Party in this documentary at all. The fact that we getting all this footage about Kelsey, I feel like Megan kind of missed Kelsey. And she said despite all the success that she had in 2020, looking back, that was her worst year. We just see a bunch of drinking. And as we know, she was hanging out with everybody and their mama. Everybody was her friend. And it was just a mess. And she basically said Tory was just one of the people that she just started hanging out with. which makes sense. We saw her hanging out with G-Eazy and like a few other people throughout that time. I guess Tory was just the one that stuck, and he was probably the one who lived the closest to her. And then they both had bonded over the fact that both of their moms had already passed away. So now we're talking about the night of the Pow Pow incident. Megan is in the car with Tory, the driver, and Kelsey. So she's still kind of giving a BS story, in my opinion, because she said, oh, we was all arguing. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I know I was talking shit and he was probably a little offended. Now, she was drunk, so she might not remember exactly what she said, but you remember what y'all was arguing about. And you just showed us all these clips of you and Kelsey being best friends and that she really was there for you and y'all loved each other. So I feel like you needed to explain what y'all was arguing about, because you know what it's assumed that y'all was arguing about, which is that you supposedly slept with him and she was sleeping with him. So Megan says she tries to get out the car. They like, oh, get back in the car. We right here by your house. She gets back in the car. They still arguing. She said this boy is getting so angry because his feelings are hurt by a woman. And we still have the same story. She gets out the car with her swimsuit on for the second time, starts walking away from the car. Tory starts hollering out the window, talking about dance bitch and pow pow. And she basically said Tory couldn't believe what he did. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'll give y'all $1 million. Just please don't say nothing. And she said, you know, when they finally got pulled over by the police, at the time, the climate between the people and the police was very high, which it was. I believe Megan's situation happened July 2020 and George Floyd happened May 2020. So she was very nervous and didn't really want to engage with the police. So she tells them she steps on the glass because she doesn't want them to pow pow Tory. So she said she got to the hospital. The police was still questioning her. She's not really telling them nothing. And she just wants this to be over with. But then the doctor comes in the room with the x-ray and is like, you have bullet fragments in your feet. So now the cops are looking like, girl, you did not step on glass. Next thing we hear is the call that a lot of people seem to not have heard of Tory calling from the jail the next day, apologizing to Kelsey, but telling Kelsey, like, apologize to Megan for me. Tell her I'm sorry. I didn't mean for things to go this far, which is why a lot of people feel like that's an admission of guilt. Okay, so Megan, this is my problem. You didn't address that Kelsey was sleeping with Tory first and then you slept with him. You didn't say what y'all was arguing about in the car. But now you're trying to say, oh, Kelsey started meeting up with Tory not even 2 days after the shooting and told me that he told her, thank you for not saying nothing. Let me get you some money. Let me invest in your business, blah, blah, blah. So the angle she's about to take is that Kelsey betrayed her by doing all of this meeting up with Tory after the pow pow. But you never mentioned where you went wrong by creeping with Tory behind her back. So you're not lying right now, but you're definitely omitting something to make things look the way you want them to look. And Megan's like, it just don't make sense to me how she could meet up privately with somebody who just pulled out a pow pow on her best friend and shot it. So she said she was in the hospital for a few days. She got the shells removed from her feet and she just wanted to quietly move on from the situation. And she was like, she just thought, you know, a part of her career was going to be over because she is known for dancing and twerking and her Megan knees, and she thought it was all over for that. But she said she just kept pushing through because she said one thing about it, a man was not going to be her downfall. And then WAP came out, which of course was another huge moment for her career and Cardi's. So they included some clips of, you know, the people shouting WAP outside of the White House and everything. But then they also showed some clips from some men who felt the way about it. Snoop Dogg, Mal, and Joe Budden from the Joe Budden podcast. Trevor Noah, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens. All were talking down on the song, as we know. And Megan clocked it. She said men rap about running trains, slipping stuff in people's drinks and they ain't even know it, passing girls to the homies and everything else. But WAP is the worst thing you ever heard. And she said she feel like a lot of people dismiss her assault by Tory because of the image she has, the over-sexualized image and everything. People feel like, oh, you know, you're a hoe anyway, so you deserve whatever you got, or we don't really give a fuck. And like she said, she never pressed charges on Tory. California took it upon themselves to press the charges on Tory because the doctor came in while the police was still there and said, you have bullet fragments in your feet. So you saying you stepped on glass is a lie. So once the police figured out that she was pow pow, they took it upon themselves to do what they did. So we see Tory and a lot of men on the internet backing him up and saying they don't think she's telling the truth. We see the day that Megan finally did go live with that hoodie and that blue wig on and say, you know, Tory is the person who pow powed me. She said that she was waiting for Kelsey to come forward and speak on what happened and back her up. So we see Tasha K saying, you know, Kelsey is not defending Megan because she was out here screwing her best friend's man. She's been sleeping with Tory for some months. And we also see the live where Kelsey said, you know, you was messing with somebody behind my back that I was on first. And that ain't right because you was supposed to be my best friend. So Megan said, you know, she just really disappointed me and let me down. And she basically said, do you feel like anything you're saying justifies the fact that I was popped? So she's basically admitting that it happened low-key right now without saying it. But it's like, I would respect you more if you just said it because we all know it now. So like, just say it. Like, you should have said exactly what happened in the car. Yeah, I was drunk. I was wilding. My mom passed away. I was fucked up. And I did some fucked up shit to my friend when I was drunk. And I slept with this guy that she was dealing with. But I still don't feel like as a woman, she should have not backed me up when she know that he popped me. Because that's the truth. But she said that she don't give a F what they was mad about, even if it was the other way around. She wouldn't have did Kelsey like that because Kelsey saw what happened to Megan with her own two eyes. So now we jump to April 2022, 8 months before the trial begins. And we're on to chapter 2 of the documentary, which is called Alone in the Spotlight. And it's time for the infamous Gayle King interview. So we see where she says she wasn't dating Tory. They were very close. They were friends. And then Gayle says, well, was the relationship ever intimate? And Megan says, like, sexual. And Gayle says, yes. And Megan says, no. Which, of course, we all did find out later was a lie. And we see Megan and T. Ferris talking after the interview. And he is somebody who seems like he's been a constant in her life. Like, I believe he left 1501 with her. And she was just like, you know, we should be talking about him popping somebody, not who he's sleeping with, and if me and him had a relationship. And she was like, you know, I've been knowing Kelsey since 2013. I would have never thought that something, especially like money, would have been able to get in between me and her being friends. So again, right now, I feel like the narrative is being spun by Megan that Kelsey betrayed her by talking to Tory after the popping incident and by potentially getting paid off. And then again, not mentioning any role you played in the demise of your friendship. So Megan is saying that she's waiting for Kelsey to tell on Tory, and we see a bunch of different platforms speculating that she was lying on the Gayle King interview because of the way she was pausing and saying which she was. And she says she just feels like everything is such a distraction from what actually happened. She used to be so confident in herself that she wouldn't have lied about it, and she would have been like, yeah, I did that. But because she's being villainized, she feel like she don't want to tell the truth. And I also feel like it's because she knew that at that point, it was already the rumor speculating that she had took Tory from Kelsey or whatever. So her admitting that she slept with him would have been like admitting that she was a bad friend and admitting to the whole rumor before the trial. But it's like, girl, you knew it was going to come out eventually. And she was like, yeah, I did lie to Gayle King. I didn't even know that B was going to ask me that. I mean, not Gayle King, a bitch. And she basically said that her and Tory's situation, it was only like once or twice. He kept catching her on drunk nights when she was out of her mind. Like, basically, it didn't really mean nothing. It wasn't intimate. It just was sexual. And she basically just came to the realization that, you know, a lot of this stuff would have never happened if my mom didn't pass away. I would have never met half of these people, been around half of these people, went to half of these places, which is true because it seemed like her mom was like her protector. And she said, you know, some days she wake up happy, other days she just wake up checked out, but she got to keep going. She got events to do. So we see Megan at the Met Gala and we hear Not Nice playing. So we're entering the Traumazine era. And Traumazine is one of Megan's best projects, in my opinion. Like Tina Snow Fever and Traumazine are like my top 3, I think. And I feel like a lot of people sleep on that project. I feel like people gave Good News a lot of attention. Like she sold 100K her first week with Good News. I think that's her highest selling project. But Traumazine came right after that, I believe. And it was kind of when she started really getting the hate train leading up to the trial and during the trial. But that's one of her best projects. So I really want y'all to go check it out. It has songs like Ungrateful, Not Nice, Anxiety, Budget with Lotto. It's really some of her best work. And like she said, she really wanted to bring people into her mind state at the time. Like it was real vulnerable. Like I feel like shit right now. I'm going through this trauma. And she really put it in the music and used the album as like a diary of that time period in her life. So we see Megan going to all of these different events, but while she's in the car, she's like really engulfed in social media and looking at all these updates about herself, which at that time really wasn't anything good. A lot of people were against her or at least questioning and speculating if she was telling the truth or if Tory had actually did it or if it was Kelsey or whatever. And a lot of times when you're in a dark place like that, it'll take one thing for you to spiral. So Megan was about to eat and she wanted these certain type of chips. And when the guy bought her a different type of chips and said that that was all they had, she kind of ended up breaking down and crying. And it was like the chips really spiraled it. And she was like, you know, I'm trying to still be present and be nice to people and not be a bitch to people because I'm in a mood. But it's like one little thing, you know, will break her down. And she's like, you know, I'm tired of acting like I'm not on edge, but I'm also tired of always being on edge. And this trial is coming up and I really don't want to see none of these people. So then we see Megan performing at the Billboard Music Awards, performing Plan B, and we saw a bunch of people supporting her in the audience, like Mary J. Blige and Doja Cat. Lorianne Gibson was backstage like a proud mama bear. And Megan was like, she just tries to stay present in the good moments because she kind of feels like whenever something good happens, something bad is going to happen not long after. And even though she's had all of these blessings with her career and everything, when you look at her personal life, it kind of makes sense that she feels like that because she's kind of taking hit after hit after hit. You know, her mom, her dad, her grandmother passing away, all of that stuff is stuff that was completely out of her control. And then when it comes to situations after that, I feel like she was in such a lonely and lost place that she was either trusting the wrong people or kind of doing people wrong because she was drinking so much and just not in the right mind state and lost friendships along the way with that, like Kelsey. So then we see Megan at this Mugler wardrobe fit, and she's clearly exhausted. She's yawning, and the guy who's fitting her is like, it's okay to take breaks. And she's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go home after this, but I gotta see if Lorianne got anything for me first. When she gets to the rehearsal, Lorianne is like, yeah, I know you're tired, but I can't let you leave. Let's try to do this and then see how you feel. And Megan is like, no, I don't feel good. And Lorianne is like, yeah, well, I can't let you leave. And Megan is like, I'm about to throw up. And Lorianne's like, so you want me to get you a bucket? She's like, oh, this is the schedule of a global superstar. And Megan's like, I'm here, but I'm just telling you how I feel. Like, she's clearly exhausted. And Lorianne is like, I haven't seen anything like you except for the greats, and this is just what we have to do to get you to the top. So we saw Megan do a bunch of performances, like the festival circuit, and she was all over with it. Denmark, UK, Norway, Portugal, Japan. And she basically just said that she started to have anxiety when it comes to performing because she always feels like somebody's going to do something to her. And that isn't far-fetched because remember that person did throw something at Cardi B on stage and then she threw the mic. But in Megan's case, she said she's literally seen men online saying like, oh, Tory should have head tapped you. He should have finished the job. So she really don't know what's coming at her or what somebody might try to do to her from the audience. And she said she felt like she was the only one who was still effed up about it. Tory was just living his best life, on Instagram and stuff. And one day he texted her phone while she was on live and was like, oh, I see you on live and you look so sad. And she was like, that's when she really realized that he was crazy because this is after the popping incident, like months after leading up to trial, and you texted my phone. So at that point, she said she changed her number, got a new phone, and got a restraining order against him. Then after the restraining order is granted, she goes to Rolling Loud. The baby comes on stage after her and brings Tory Lanez as a guest in a mask, which he takes off when they get on stage. So Megan was like, he was just disrespecting the restraining order and trying to say I could do whatever I want to do. Like, you thought because you came out here with a mask that saved you? Like, the restraining order clearly said that you wasn't supposed to be probably even in the same building as her. And that's why you wasn't actually listed as a performer. The baby was listed as a performer and he brought you as a guest being messy. Then he was also releasing music. He released a whole album about the whole situation from his point of view, him, Megan Kelsey. And he was dropping music videos, chopping up horse legs, and it had the HGS special, like the Hot Girl Summer special. And she's like, he's basically threatening me online and everybody's laughing about it. All these celebrities and public figures are supporting him online, mostly black men. LeBron James was talking about how good the music was. Chris Brown and Meek Mill was saying free Tory. The baby tried to come out and say he slept with Megan the day before she got popped. 50 Cent was trolling her online with the whole Jussie Smollett picture, saying she was like Jussie lying. Academics was saying Megan is a demon. Joe Budden was saying, I don't like that girl. And then the last shot we got was this poetic Instagram live of Diddy on the top and Tory Lanez on the bottom with this hat that has like devil horns on it. And Diddy's like, oh, I feel like you one of the best R&B singers out, but I got a mean toxic side to me. I guess y'all both do. And she's just really exhausted, not sleeping, says when she does get to sleep, she's having nightmares. So we see Megan go to Houston. She gets the key to the city, and we see her cousin Lydia and her niece Fabika. And she says Lydia is someone who's known her through all stages of life and that is like one of the few people left who feels safe and feels like home, who she always know has her back. And since she's in Houston, she decides to go to her mom's gravesite. She says she hasn't been there since she was buried. Because remember, she said after her mom passed away, she started getting all of those opportunities and she just moved to LA and never looked back. So it was a really emotional scene. Of course, she was crying and everything. And she just said, she always feels lonely no matter how much somebody try to be her friend or even try to be with her in a relationship, since it's never really going to be enough. Or she's always going to feel lonely and there's nothing that they could do to help that. So then we see Meg doing SNL where she performed Anxiety. And when she got to that second verse where she talks about writing the letter to heaven and her mom and everything, she was really crying during that performance. And you could just tell that she was going through a lot. Everybody backstage was even kind of worried about her. Like, is it just the song or is she just really overall overwhelmed right now and stressed out? So Megan saw one little thing wrong with one of her looks and she was about to break down and cry and freak out. And Roach Law, Kellen, and Lorianne Gibson had to tell her, like, girl, shake that shit off. You ate it up. Like, it's not that serious. But you could tell she's very critical of herself. You also could kind of tell that Megan and Lorianne probably kind of be getting into it a little bit. And Megan be having to check her, like, don't try me. This ain't making the band and Danity Kane. Then we start hearing news reports about how while Megan was rehearsing for SNL in New York City, her home in California was broken into. And it said the home invaders apparently knew that Megan would be away. Then they talk about how it appeared that Drake was dissing Megan Thee Stallion when he said she lied about getting shots, but she's still a stallion or whatever. Now, we hadn't had any mention or sighting of Party until this point of the movie, and we have about 29 minutes left. So we do see them walking together in the elevator while she's leaving SNL. We heard people saying, if you're caught lying about this, if the trial doesn't go your way, your career is over. And we see that Megan makes a tweet and says, "Hotties, I'm really sorry, but after SNL, I really got to take a break. I'm just tired." So it says in November 2022, Megan goes on a mental health retreat at an undisclosed location. Originally scheduled for 2 weeks, she extends the stay for a month and cancels what would have been her first shows in Australia. And now we have reached chapter 3 of the documentary, which I'm assuming is going to be the last chapter, The Savage Within. And she got just to a very low place where she felt not worthy. She felt like her life didn't have any value and she was just sinking. So she said she had to keep going over the popping incident in her head every day with a therapist, but that's a part of the process for her to process it correctly and get through it. And the therapist would tell her things like, take yourself to your safe space in your mind or your calm space in your mind. And she's like, when is the last time I felt safe, or when is the last time I felt calm? Because realistically, her safe space will probably be with her mom, but that's something that she knows she can't get. So now we've gotten to December 2022, one day before the trial. And she said leading up to the therapy, she was just in her lowest place of her life. She said 3 days before that, she just didn't get out the bed at all. She stayed under the covers and was crying every day. And that's when she decided that she needed to go to the wellness retreat because she had never felt like that before in her life. And she said at that point, she was just feeling like she really ain't want to be here no more. So it was getting dangerous. So we see Megan arriving to the trial with her infamous court bob and her purple suit. And I mean, we all know what happened. She went in there. She told her story. She faced Tory face to face. And she told the truth about the fact that they did sleep with each other once she finally got on the stand. So now we see Kelsey arriving to court, which we know only made the case even more confusing and complicated. Because Kelsey basically went up there, asked for immunity, and then said that she didn't remember anything that happened that night. And then it's funny, we see a clip of Milagro Grams and academics talking about the trial. And it's funny because now Megan is suing Milagro. And then, like they said, the driver, who was the only other person present, was never able to be found. And then he popped up, I believe, the last day of the trial. So we see Megan getting back home. And she has to get on a call with the district attorneys. And she's just like, I hope the jury makes the right decision. So Megan is just pensive. She's waiting for the decision. And her cousin Lydia and the baby, her niece, I'm going to just say Phoebe, they arrive. So Megan is happy. I'm glad she had that comfort around that time, especially because imagine if it did go a different direction, right? And her cousin said that she spoke to Megan when she was in the hospital and, she was shocked. Like, she didn't know what happened. And Megan was like, I don't want to call the police on him. And her cousin was like, you need to call the police on him. He needs to go to jail. She said Meg is the type of person where it's like, you hurt me, you do me wrong, I'm going to just leave you alone and go about my business. I'm not going to try to get back at you or ruin your life. So she didn't really want to do that to Tory. So Megan T. Ferris and another lady were just sitting there. It was starting to get dark and it was just quiet. And she was like, my body is having all type of reactions. Like, they just waiting for the verdict. And then the lady was like, count one. They got him on the highest charges. And she went over and hugged Megan, and Megan just broke down crying. And they was like, it's over. It's over. Like, you're vindicated. I mean, she sobbed. And as we know, Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but the case is still ongoing because he's now trying to appeal and overturn it. So we will see what happens with that. I hope that soon we can just close this chapter completely because I'm kind of tired of talking about the case. So now we jump to 2023. And Megan says this is the first time in her life since her mom has been alive that she feels like she's really taking care of herself and everything she's doing is for her. And she's hopeful for what's next at this point, even though she still kind of expected that after she was vindicated by the courts, that all of this hatred and stuff would stop. But she says she still has to battle with people every day saying that she's a liar and that they don't think she's telling the truth. And she sent the innocent black man to jail and blah, 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 blah. But she's just gotten to the point now where she's starting to not care. So then we basically see present day or like recent times. We see the Cobra era and we see Megan just saying that she's really in a fresh space. And we see a news article saying that the 3-time Grammy winner is showing no signs of slowing down. And we saw some footage of the Hot Girl Summer Tour, which I feel like was some of the most fun that she's probably had in recent years, especially when it comes to like while doing work. I wish we didn't include the soundbite of This Pussy Depressed. There was other good parts of Cobra that could have been included. But like she said, I know that her mom is proud looking down at her. So are her grandma and her dad. And then we get the ending credits and we hear a new song by Megan Thee Stallion and John Legend. It actually is a really great song. It's like a tribute to her mom and probably just the other people that she's lost in her life. I'm glad that she held this song for the documentary. I don't really feel like it fits with Act 2. But hopefully it'll be on Act 3. And hopefully Act 3 is actually more songs like this that are really vulnerable and have more substance. And she's also really rapping her ass off. Overall, I feel like this was a great documentary. It was shot really well. It told her story really well. And I think it does help us understand why Megan is the way she is. And just gave us more insight on some of the things that she's going through in public that we didn't know she was having her actual behind the scenes moments being filmed of. The only thing that I said I do not like or do I feel like was a little skewed was how they told Kelsey's story and how she fit into everything. I do think them losing that friendship was mutual and they both played a role in it. But it does seem like Megan made the wrong first move in the demise of their friendship. But I definitely recommend you guys check this documentary out. It was great and I would give it a 10 out of 10. So I will see y'all later. Bye.